Okay, this is the second half of the interview with Comrade John H. Jamgochian of the Post 41, Corporal Marsuabian Post. My name is Major Greg Aremanian. I'm the director of the Oral History Project. This is Monday, December 16, 2002, and we're at Post 41 in Watertown, Mass. And John, we were going through your family, and you had said that you're one of six, and that you enlisted in the Navy.
Right.
Now, where did you go to boot camp? Trace your history.
In Newport, Rhode Island. And you want to know more or less this?
Just give us a general history of what you went through.
Oh, okay. As I said, it was Newport Naval Training Station, and then I was transferred to the United States Naval Hospital in Newport, where I learned or got some training in first aid and immediate care for wounded and sick and injured. And from there I went to the torpedo station at the end of Long Island, which is known as Montauk Point.
Oh, yes.
From that point on, I went to St. Albert's Hospital for a little more training. And
St. Albans is in
New York.
New York.
And then I went aboard the SS Agri Prince, and we proceeded to Gulfport, Mississippi, and picked up a contingency of Marines, and we went through the Panama Canal, and we made a landing in a troop landing. The ship, it wasn't a troop transport, it was a troop carrier. From that point we made landings in New Guinea, and after we left New Guinea, we come back, and when I say come back, we went to a safer area such as Hawaiian Islands and pick up sick and injured, and usually we'd end up at some port in the West Coast such as Seattle, San Francisco, and then we'd take off again. And our biggest, most dangerous, I think, invasion we had was the one in Iwo Jima, where an Armenian friend of mine was going down the gangway and going into combat in one of these landing craft infantry. I think it was an LCI, and it was going down. I didn't want to speak just for general principles in American or English, and I told him to be very careful, and many words of concern in Armenian to give him a little different feeling when he was going in to combat. But fortunately, he did come back, and his name was John Oweneshian from South Boston. And to go on with this little story,
Go ahead.
Any Armenian that came in the troops, that were attached to a troop, some troops I should say, I'd go through their roster and look over any Armenian name and pick them out and bring him to a little better quarters and better food. They didn't have to stand up when they're having their chow, and it was greatly appreciated for what I did for those guys, and I felt good doing it. And there was about 6 of them, but the other ones were from different parts of the United States, and I just couldn't keep track of them after the war was over. And
Well, it was important that you recognized each other.
right,
for what you were.
like that.
Did you speak in your own native language with them?
I wasn't very fluent in Armenian, but
Yeah.
what I knew, we could understand one another.
Now this Armenian, John Jamgochian, that went down into Iwo Jima.
Yeah.
Was he a Marine or?
Yes, he was a Marine. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
His father had a coat cap factory in South Boston. He had a sister that died, approximately a couple of years ago. She was a very generous woman, contributed a lot.
Is he still alive?
No, Johnny died approximately 10 years ago.
I see.
Yeah.
Now you say that you went at some time down to New Guinea.
Yeah, New Guinea.
Would that
first.
be in connection with MacArthur's trip back to MacArthur's plans to get back into the Pacific?
I don't know.
Describe New Guinea, or whereabouts in New Guinea did you land? Can you describe it for us?
Sure. There was a place called Milne Bay, M-I-L-N-E, and I can't think if, I don't like to use the town or the city of some, it's too tough for me to remember the name of the so-called area in New Guinea. All I know is, I remember is the Milne Bay, and that was at the beginning of the war. And as I said, we've made invasions in 2 or 3 other places. It wasn't as dangerous as Iwo Jima, but such as the Philippines, Guam. We come in, incidentally, this ship landed and I went ashore in the Philippine island of, I can't think of the name of the...
Mindanao?
Yeah, Mindanao, but...
Mindanao was, I think, on the bottom.
Right, but we were in there, and I never saw such devastation in my life, and that was like this day after they were liberated. And being a guy from the United States, places like that I'd never seen before, and it was just it's so difficult for me to describe. It was in shambles. Sewerage was all over the place. Everything was boarded up. Somebody mentioned about going to a restaurant. I just told them forget it, as it would end up with typhoid fever. So
you pretty much stayed on the ship?
we said, get the hell out of here, and we went back in the ship. Yeah.
Well, now on the invasions, if you just list the invasions that you were involved in that you can recall. You recalled New Guinea.
I remember New Guinea.
2 or 3 invasions there?
No, we go in one sweep.
Yeah.
We go in, we take the ship as a carry, and then they go on to the smaller craft. And once they're gone, we hightail it out of there as fast as we can for possible strafing and bombing and this type of thing. And that was...
So you just let them go and take off?
Let them go, and that was, once the ship was empty, we'd go and pick up the sick and injured. And incidentally, on this sick and injured, on this ship that I was on, we had 8 padded cells. We had a 65, I say they're not beds, they're bunks, psychiatric ward, which was locked from the outside, incidentally. And we had immediate care, such as it was more of a hospital room that held about 6 double bunks, which would be about 12 patients that needed good care.
So you had physicians on board?
We had one physician. We had a couple emergency operations which we didn't want to do because we didn't, in case of the lights going out or being strafed or bombed, we didn't want to have a belly wide open for that reason. And we did have a couple emergencies, and we did have, usually we had one surgeon aboard. But of course the the troops had their own doctors aboard, and they took care of the troops. The troop doctors would take care of their own, but we had to take whatever they couldn't do.
And you also had medics and pharmacists.
Yes,
Like
we had, and I experienced a couple suicides, and one man was looking up at me. He was praying evidently before. He was on his hands and knees, and he looked up, and he had slit his throat, literally from ear to ear, and it was very, I shouldn't say very superficial, but I know he used a razor blade to do it, and I couldn't get him down to the sick bay fast enough, but he did recover.
He did recover.
Yeah, he did recover.
Why, I don't want to ask why, but I suppose this was the result of shell shock and
Yes,
things like that.
that was quite common. It was quite
Did
common.
your ship ever get strafed?
Yes, it got strafed once, and that was outside of Evo. But we had very little, we didn't have any injuries, just a little flying objects.
Did you have a means to defend yourself?
This troop carrier, it was a troop carrier that wasn't a battle, wasn't geared for aggressive defense or combat. We had, I think, a 4-inch gun forward and maybe a 3-inch gun aft, and we had some anti-aircraft 20 millimeter, I guess they called them 20 millimeter cannons. We had about 3 on each side. If we could just take care of ourselves was all we could do or want to do.
Okay.
That's all.
So you say that you were trained in the hospitals, the medics.
I was trained in medics.
Yeah. But here you say you were an armed guard.
Armed Guard was the name of the unit that was in the gun crew, but I was still part of the Armed Guard. It was the general name, but my ship was very unusual because it had a medical unit. 90% of the Armed Guard were gunners. They were in the gun crew, and those ships carried supplies, like they carried the supplies mainly to Russia. And you've all heard of the Merman's Run, and they were all members of the Armed Guard that was attached to these merchant marine vessels that the government took over and converted them for, in some cases, mainly for transportation of men and materials.
So would it be fair to say, John, that the ship that you were on, its basic mission was to transfer troops and
Into combat.
Transfer troops and their equipment into combat.
Right.
But that included in that troop transport, you had
Troop
medical
carrier.
facility.
It wasn't a transport.
In a troop carrier. You had facilities for medical treatment.
Yes.
And you were also armed fore and aft
Yes.
on either side with light anti-aircraft and 4 and 3-inch guns.
Yes.
Okay.
And our second job was, after we made these invasions, was to bring
Bring the wounded back.
the wounded back, which shuttle back and forth. It wasn't always right back to the States. Many times we'd drop them off like at the Hawaiian Islands and places such as that that had a little better facilities for their care.
Okay. Did you have any problem getting your sea legs? How was it sailing aboard these ships?
Oh, it was, the only time I got sick, and 90% of the crew got sick, and we're all land lovers, never been on a ship before, was approximately 4 or 5 hours out of New York City, as we're going down the eastern seaboard on our way to Gulfport, Mississippi, and after that, it was a piece of cake. Nobody get seasick again in this crew of ours.
Can you tell us what the conditions were aboard ship? Was it pretty clean?
The conditions aboard ship was excellent, more than clean. We had very tough naval inspections, and our food was served, I said, underline served, and we had a sit-down area. Naturally, we had tables and chairs.
You had said some, if I remember correctly, that some of these people did not eat sitting down.
Well, that was the troops.
The troops.
Troops, right? That's why I brought these Armenian, the friends of mine,
yes.
into the
I
little
see.
better surroundings.
So you separate the crew quarters from the troops.
Very much
And the
so.
troops were outside.
The troops were outside of our area.
And what did they eat? The same food?
Well, no.
They had rations?
No. They had anything that was watery, they could put in a bowl,
Yeah.
and this type of thing. The main thing is they know that they weren't on an ocean liner with gourmet food. They just
Yeah.
get used to it. And but it was hell would break loose if there was ever a case of diarrhea, which does happen, and it's not a very pleasant sight. And I hate to tell you where there was obviously not enough bathrooms available for the men, and I could tell you many places that were used for that facility.
Okay. Tell us something about the life of someone who was about to disembark, or who had come onto your ship to be transported. How was life on deck? What was it like?
The life on deck, we'd do anything to entertain the best we did. For example, as most people know, we had crossing the equator was a big deal. We had a couple men dressed up as women. We had a king, and we went through many antics in going, doing the initiations that men go through in the crossing of the equator, and we were presented a big diploma for doing that. And
when people cross the equator, I understand that the ceremony consists of throwing them into the ocean and bringing them back, or something like that.
No, they wouldn't try to.
They wouldn't try to do that.
No, but we did put them in, throw them into a tank, blindfolded, and it was very amusing.
Okay.
I've forgotten a lot of the.
Did you have any name band entertainers or anything like that?
Nothing like
So you entertained yourself more.
Right.
More like. So, but you saw quite a bit of distance in your service. You went from Gulfport, Mississippi. You went to Hawaii. You went to Iwo Jima.
Iwo
All the
Jima.
way
From
back.
that point, we went to Guam, as I said before, and the very last place I went to, and I lost $50 on the bet because one of my friends said that the war will be over with in such and such a time, and we were headed for Saipan, and we had well, anyway, make a long story short, I lost my bet, and the war was over in the length of time that he said it would be over.
Really?
Yeah.
You never got
It was the best $50 I ever lost.
You never went to Saipan?
Never went to Saipan.
Okay. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, you got out in January 20, 1946.
That's right.
Now, actually, the A-bomb fell in August of 45.
Yep,
Is that right?
that's right.
Do you remember that day?
Yes, the conversation went, it was after that that the bets were made.
The bets were made.
That's when the bets were made.
Yeah.
And
But were you anywhere around the Philippines in those days?
exactly, and I think we were headed somewheres around the
Mindanao or
Mindanao, or
Philippines?
maybe, and possibly on the way to Saipan. I really can't put it together.
Okay. So,
But I know Saipan is pretty close to Japan.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay. And did you develop, and after you, let's see, you say you got out in
46.
46. So, how did you feel about the war?
When I got out of the service, what I saw, I wouldn't want to call myself a pacifist. That's a strong word. But I said to myself, and not to many other people, I kept it to myself, there isn't anything that was worth what I saw during World War II that was worth fighting for. And I know it doesn't sound good, but I don't feel that strong. But after what I went through, I said to myself that there wasn't any war that was worth what these boys went through. And of course, as we all know, the biggest heroes were the ones who gave their lives, were the dead heroes, and guys like me that sometimes can talk about it.
Now, how did you feel when the war ended?
Oh, how did I feel? If there was some grain alcohol aboard, we found it, and we'd use did a little celebration. That means and mixed it up with plenty of fruit juices.
Okay, so tell me,
Yes.
where were you when you heard, do you recall where you were? Probably the answer was going to be the same, that you were aboard ship. But when you heard that Roosevelt had died, where were you?
I was aboard ship, and all I saw was tears. Guys just broke down all over the place.
Where were you when you heard that World War II had ended in Germany?
I was
VE Day.
I don't know.
Don't know.
I do remember bringing some troops that had been in Germany, and the war was over now, and they were headed for the
Pacific?
for combat in the Pacific.
Okay. Where were you on VJ Day? That would be with
I was on the high seas.
on the high seas. I thought that's to be. Now, today, for instance, this is in December, we're about a little week before Christmas in 2002. People are talking about, let's go in there to invade Iraq. How do you feel about that?
I'll tell you.
Because they say we're under the threat of nuclear
I
devastation.
feel as though we're jumping the gun, as the saying goes, and I don't believe that unless I get more concrete reasons to invade Iraq, I'd say hold off and wait.
In other words, you don't believe in what they call preemptive strikes.
No.
You believe that they should strike first and we should strike back.
Well, not strike so much, but have more reason than we have.
Okay. Now, do you recall the day that your service ended?
Well, see, to say the day it ended, I got
That would be in,
I was in Seattle and I took a troop train back to South Boston, South Station.
that was a long trip.
That was a long trip. And my folks picked me up.
Really?
Yeah. No, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. No. From there, we had to go. I had to go to the Fargo building and get.
That's in South Boston.
That's in South Boston.
Okay. And what did you do in the days and weeks after that?
Oh, didn't even think about the war anymore. My main thing was to get on with my life, getting on to pharmacy school, and getting ahead of things. Didn't put it right in the back of my mind. I thought more about the war. I'm jumping around now.
But did you utilize the GI Bill to go through pharmacy school?
I utilized the GI Bill. I had started and I finished up, and then I took the state boards, and I passed, obviously.
So you're a registered pharmacist?
I'm a registered pharmacist.
Okay.
And
Now, did you meet any of your other service friends when you were back in Massachusetts?
just one, and he was from Providence, Rhode Island. And somebody from Providence, when you're in the Navy, is like your next door neighbor. And we saw each other periodically, 2 or 3 times a year. Always recall past memories. And unfortunately, he's living, but he's not very well.
Okay. And how long was it before you joined a veterans organization?
Oh, that's kind of embarrassing. Well, yeah.
Doesn't have to be embarrassing. You're a member of Post 41.
Yeah, but I haven't been here long.
That's okay. That's all right. So,
I've been here about a year and a half.
okay. Who brought you in?
Brought myself in.
That's very good. What led you to join?
Well,
Or was it just the food?
no. It wasn't the food. It's the camaraderie. I like to be out, get out once in a while, speak to some ex-veterans, this type of thing.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've done pretty good.
Well, thank you.
We've done
I
pretty
stammered
good.
and hesitated a little bit, but
No,
I'm
no,
going
no.
back. Oh, good grief!
Yeah.
50 years.
Now, supposing somebody sees this tape about 10 years later,
Yeah.
year 2012 or 2040,
Go
when neither
ahead.
you or I will be around, how would you counsel young people thinking of going into the service to serve their country?
I firmly believe we should have a strong standing Army, Navy, Marine. I'd encourage,
And the Air Force.
and the Air Force.
Without the Air Force, you're stuck.
I know, and the Air Force. You're absolutely right.
All right.
I think the armed services has a lot to offer for many young men that could to go into service, serving your country. I'd be in favor of every young man. You can have whatever age you want, 18, 19, or whatever, to serve their country for a year or two, and I believe I think I'm repeating, but I think it's because of my age, a strong Army, Navy, Marine, well, I've said that
Yeah.
before.
You believe in a strong military
A
establishment,
strong military
especially in
establishment.
these days when we have all kinds
That's
of
right.
threats.
Yeah, all kinds
Just
of.
let me ask
Yeah.
all kinds of threats against
Oh,
our security.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me ask you another thing. When you were in the service, and when you went aboard, when you were aboard ship and you went into the went abroad, did you get the feeling that these other countries were so much less advanced than the United States, and it was like the haves versus the have-nots, so to speak? Were they jealous of us? How did you feel?
No, I didn't have much contact with the
the local population.
the local population. I think the Army and the Marines could handle that subject
Yeah.
better than I could.
Because you were pretty much
I was
kept the
pretty
woodshed.
much isolated.
It's probably why you lived so long too. Because they had good
no,
good food, good
I-
service, good
no.
medicals. Now the GI Bill, you did take advantage of the GI Bill.
Yes, yes, I did.
Okay. All right. Is there anything we haven't covered here?
No, but I enjoyed. I enjoyed, and I got doing this, and I got a lot of things off my chest that I didn't have. I don't like to talk about it to other people for some reason. I don't like to just go on my service record. So
But obviously you've seen quite a bit of devastation,
yes, yes,
war,
yes.
and you've thought twice about going into war. But yet on the other hand, you do feel that we should have a strong military establishment.
By all means, I think it's the best way to hold the peace.
And you think that veterans organizations like the AmVets, this post, not only help in your camaraderie in your later life, but also they could also support that kind of movement for a strong.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, if that's it, we're going to end this interview. This is Major Greg Arabian, Director of the Oral History Project of Post 41, with John H. Jamgochian of the U.S. Navy and of this post. We're ending here at 17:30 hours, which is 7:30, right?
So,
No, it's 19:30 hours.
I didn't want to.
19:30 hours on Monday, December 16. It's okay to make a mistake. December 16, 2002. We're signing off, and thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
Good job.
You did a good job.
Well, we have the question.